They believed themselves utterly alone, shielded by the scalding breath of the Hamam. A sanctuary, they thought, where the stone absorbed whispers and the steam dissolved secrets. But a pillar, dear lady, often hears more than the deepest well. From behind this ancient marble, through the swirling, hot mists that ascended from the polished slabs, I saw two shadows, potent and undefined, glided amidst the humid embrace. Not merely women, no. These were architects of destiny, silhouettes of absolute power, their forms momentarily solidifying, then dissolving into the vaporous illusion, like phantoms dancing on the edge of a precipice. The air here was not merely hot, it throbbed with a deeper, more insidious heat. A premonition, like a viper coiled in the heart. For a dynasty, you must understand, is a delicate, intricate tapestry. Its threads are woven from generations of blood and ambition, yet its entire fabric can be unraveled by a single ill-placed word, a glance sharp enough to pierce the thickest silk. What unseen forces, what venomous intentions might be concealed beneath the facade of camaraderie? Here, in this humid sanctuary where bodies were laid bare, shorn of their silks and jewels, stripped of the outward symbols of their station, their souls remained fiercely, dangerously veiled. And it was here, in this paradox of exposure and concealment, that the very fate of an empire, a monumental bloodline, hung suspended. The silence was profound, unbroken save for the rhythmic splash of water from the carved fountains, a sound both soothing and sinister. It was a silence that held its breath, taut with unspoken meanings, waiting for the inevitable. And within that dense quiet, beneath the rising steam, a different note began to resonate. Not of water, nor of breath. It was the chilling, unmistakable echo of betrayal. A whisper, perhaps, of poison, wrapped in the softest, most innocent silk. The future of a bloodline, the very survival of an empire, poised on the precipice of oblivion, decided in this unforgiving heat, in a single, silent moment before the fall. The game of queens, played with such ruthless grace, now teetered on the edge of absolute ruin. Come closer, if you dare, behind this ancient pillar, where the very stones breathe secrets. Feel the heavy warmth that clings to the air, thick with steam and the cloying sweetness of jasmine. This is no mere bathing chamber, understand. This is the heart of the golden cage, where serenity itself is a weapon, and every ritual a carefully constructed mask. Here, beneath domes inlaid with gold leaf that shimmer like captive stars, the tender whisper of perfumed oils and exotic incense mingles with another scent, far more subtle. It is the aroma of fear, almost imperceptible, like a drop of potent poison dissolved in the sweetest sherbet. Can you taste it? It hangs heavy, a promise of what is yet to unfold. Observe her, the Valide Sultan, a monument carved from centuries of power. Her hands, gnarled yet elegant, move through the steaming water with the practiced grace of a high priestess. Each gesture, honed over decades, carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken commands, 1,000 lives shaped or shattered. She does not merely wash her hands, she performs an invocation, a silent pact with the very foundations of the dynasty. And beside her, her favored pearl, the jewel of the harem. So young, so seemingly innocent, her skin gleaming like polished marble in the soft light. But look closer, my dear. See her eyes. Two dark, fathomless lakes that reflect not just a gilded ceiling, but the terrifying depths of ambition. She is a flower of rare beauty, yes, but one whose roots plunge deep into the fertile soil of ruthlessness. The soft caress of silk against her skin is a deceptive barrier, masking a will of iron. This is not simply an ablution. This is a dance, a perilous ballet performed upon the razor's edge. Every touch, every measured breath, every drop of water that spills from the Valide's cupped hands can be interpreted. A blessing? A warning? Or perhaps a silent, irrevocable sentence. The silence in this hallowed space is more eloquent than any decree. The bloodline, you see, is a ravenous god. It demands sacrifice, even from its most cherished. And this Hamam, with its warmth and its steam, its opulence and its lurking shadows, is its most sacred altar. The empire's fate, already trembling, is being decided not on the battlefield, but in this intimate, dangerous sanctuary. Betrayal wears many faces, and sometimes the most deadly is that of a lover or a child. The air in the Hamam, thick with jasmine and the steam from heated marble, holds more than mere whispers. It carries the faint scent of ambition, the lingering aroma of choices yet to be made, and the metallic tang of what might soon be spilled. Observe, if you dare, the tableau before you. A symphony of laughter, the soft splash of water, the innocent murmurings of women enjoying respite from the palace's gilded cage. But beneath this shimmering veil of tranquility, the true currents flow. Do you see it? How power truly moves in these hallowed halls? Not through decree or grand pronouncement, but in the imperceptible shift of an eye, the hesitant breath, the slightest, most delicate movement of a hand. She stood there, the Valide Sultan, a figure carved from time and unyielding will. Her eyes, though veiled by the mist, held the sharp clarity of a hawk surveying its domain. Her movements were slow, deliberate, each gesture steeped in centuries of inherited authority. Her hand, adorned with rings heavy with history, seemed to glide through the humid air. And then it happened. A tremor, no more substantial than a sigh, passed through her fingers. From her grasp, a silken square, exquisitely embroidered with the faded crest of a house long since swallowed by the earth, fluttered downwards. It drifted, a falling leaf, settling on the wet marble with a whisper. Careless, you might think. An oversight of age, perhaps. But tell me, when has the architect of a dynasty ever been truly careless? No, this was no accident. This was a signal, precise as the sharpest dagger, yet as subtle as a shadow stretching in the dawn. The message, meant for one pair of eyes alone, was received. The concubine, the Sultan's burgeoning favorite, stood nearby, her beauty a luminous beacon in the dimness. Her gaze, quick and sharp, had already registered the falling silk before it even touched the ground. A flicker of understanding, a tightening in the jaw, imperceptible to any but those who truly knew the language of this court. Without a moment's hesitation, she bent, a graceful arc of devotion, to retrieve the fallen treasure. The world seemed to pause, suspended in the steam. Their fingers, Valide and concubine, mistress of the present and architect of the future, met. A touch so fleeting, so feather-light, it could have been merely a trick of the eye. Yet, in that fraction of a second, an eternity unfolded. It was a silent conversation, a torrent of words exchanged without a single syllable being uttered. A pact was sealed, invisible bonds forged from the heat of ambition and the chill of fear. Promises were whispered, promises that would bind them tighter than any oath sworn before God. And beneath the shimmering surface of those unspoken pledges, threats coiled, cold and venomous, shackling the young woman to a path from which there could be no return. The emblem on the silk, the forgotten house it represented, was not merely a decorative flourish. It was a stark reminder of what happens when one fails in the intricate dance of power. It spoke of bloodlines severed, of legacies erased by the unforgiving hand of history. This Hamam, this supposed sanctuary of pleasure and purification, had become a crucible. The laughter of the other women, the innocent splashing, merely provided the backdrop, a deceptive symphony masking the true drama unfolding. They were blind, deaf to the seismic shift occurring beneath their very feet. They saw only a respectful girl retrieving a dropped item for her elder. They did not see the betrayal being orchestrated, the dynasty being reshaped in this clandestine moment. This was not simply a game, you understand. This was a deadly chess move played on a board of polished marble and human destinies. Each piece, from the lowliest slave to the loftiest sultan, was a pawn in this merciless struggle. And with that single, silent exchange, a new piece had been moved, a new strategy unveiled. The silence that followed was heavier than any shout, pregnant with unspoken consequences. A shadow, vast and encroaching, began to fall across the empire, its edges blurring the lines between loyalty and treachery, between desire and doom. Only these two women, locked in their terrible, intimate understanding, knew its true measure. And the fate of 1,000 years, perhaps, had just been decided in the humid embrace of the Hamam. The scent of poison seemed to mingle with the jasmine now, subtle, insidious, promising a future as dark and lustrous as the silk that had fallen. The steaming waters had done their work, cleansing the flesh, yet leaving the spirit drenched in the unspoken. What sins clung to the soul no ritual could wash away? We stood as if poised on the edge of a precipice, the air thick with unspoken vows and unmade decisions. A servant, swift as a shadow, glided forth, her hands bearing a tray of polished silver. Upon it, crystal goblets shimmered, each holding the cool, inviting ruby of pomegranate sherbet. A sweet antidote, perhaps, to the bitter tang of what had transpired, or what was yet to come. The Valide, magnificent even in her softened state, took the first cup. Her fingers, adorned with ancient rings of dynasty, closed around the cool glass. Then, the favored, whose beauty was a weapon honed by time and ambition, reached for another. Two women, holding the fate of a bloodline in their delicate grasp. The Valide raised the goblet to her lips, a slow, deliberate sip. And in that suspended breath, her gaze lifted, locking with the favored's across the silk-lined chamber. No hatred flared there, no flash of venom or betrayal, only the chilling clarity of absolute necessity. The long, piercing seconds stretched, taut as a bowstring. It was an understanding etched in silence, a recognition of the ruthless game they both played, where life was but a pawn for the greater good of the empire. The favored's eyes, usually alight with a defiant fire, held only a profound, cold comprehension. Then, imperceptible to all but those who truly watched, the Valide's head gave the barest, most subtle of nods. A flicker, gone in an instant. It was not the burning sting of a crude poison that would scald the throat. No, this was a verdict, absolute, silent, sealed not with wax, but with the chilling, mutual consent of two women who knew the cost of power, and what had to be sacrificed for the continuation of the line. The silence that descended then was heavier than any scream, deeper than any lament. It swallowed the light, the very air. And I, observing from behind my pillar, felt the terrible weight of that decision settle upon the shoulders of the entire world. The empire had chosen its path, and its fate was now irrevocably etched in the taste of sweet sherbet and the absolute, terrifying stillness that followed. The steam, once thick enough to obscure a man's sins, has finally cleared. A thin, cold sheen now coats the polished marble, reflecting the muted light. The heavy scent of rosewater and a peculiar, metallic tang, perhaps of fear, perhaps of something else entirely, still clings to the air. They are gone, the women, their silks no longer rustling, their whispered ambitions now mere echoes in the vast, silent chamber. Only the lingering warmth on the stone, a ghost of their presence, remains. Do you feel it? The weight that presses down? It is not the silence itself, but what the silence conceals. Here, amidst the lingering damp and the spectral gleam, the fate of an empire was sealed. Not on the bloody fields of Anatolia, where swords clashed and banners fell. Not within the gilded halls of the divan, where viziers debated and the sultan's decrees were etched in gold. No, the true battle was fought here, in this intimate, suffocating room, where power was as starkly naked as the bodies it governed. It is a truth whispered by the ages, carried on the very dust of fallen dynasties. Empires rarely crumble from the mighty blow of an enemy's blade. More often, they are undone by a whisper, a fleeting glance, a single cup of sweetened sherbet offered at the precise, opportune moment. A small, exquisite gesture that carries the weight of 1,000 armies. This is the poison that truly brings a dynasty to its knees. This is the lesson I have learned, watching centuries turn to dust. Survival, for any bloodline, demands more than mere strength. It requires a willingness to embrace betrayal, to make decisions that will stain the future with crimson. There are no heroes in this game, nor are there villains, only players. Each move calculated, each smile a mask. And the prize for losing, my dear, is utter oblivion. Remember this when you next gaze upon the grand tapestries of history. The most pivotal decisions, those that truly reshape the world, are invariably forged in the deepest shadows, in places where no ear should ever have listened, in moments of profound silence.